On this edition of the Pro Wrestling Show, we had the latest from the Raw report, the SmackDown report, the NXT report, and the AEW report. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on this week to catch the rundown with Raw, with Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler continuing their feud for the WWE Championship. Which now Drew gets his opportunity to pick the match. Plus, on the Raw, Asuka and Sasha Banks still have their battles for the Raw Women's Championship as who is the rightful Raw Women's Champion. And on the SmackDown Ring report, Jeff Hardy and Sheamus engaged in a bar fight, which leads to blows in the bar fight with bottles in, you know what, brewery and stuff. Also, King Corbin delivers a King's ransom to Matt Riddle. What kind of form and fashion is that? And on the NXT Ring report, Killer Cross, Karrion Kross, he targets Donovan Dijakovic and sends a message to the NXT champion Keith Lee, as well as Keith Lee delivers something to NXT that he does, as he has his 2 title belts, but he gives one away, gives up one. We'll tell you that on the NXT Ring report. And on the AEW Ring report this week, man, AEW kicks with a bang as Eddie Kingston appears on AEW as an unknown opponent for Cody and takes Cody to the limit. And the main event was Sammy Guevara returns and helps Chris Jericho in the end in some form or fashion, plus with Moxley, Cage. Now they add Darby Allin and Ricky Stark. And on Wrestling Hot Topics, as Ric Flair getting a little bit suspicious on his whereabouts as his wife's been tested positive for COVID-19. Should Nature Boy be out there or what? And many, many more as well. He's talking about the wrestlers get married and stuff. And the fire release stars at WWE. Dude sends a message to WWE in some way, form, or fashion. Plus, Adam Cole says snaps on NXT contributor. All this and more as Pro Wrestling Show starts right now. Welcome to this edition of Pro Wrestling Show. I'm your host as always, Kenny Dixie. Glad you can join us here on the Pro Wrestling Show this week as we talk about a whole list of stuff. But first thing first, joining the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling here on Connect. Thank you all once again for watching this edition of the Pro Wrestling Show this week. Thank you all. As I always say, if wrestling matters, you know, hey, you make it more for your content. Thank you all for watching once again. All right, let's get to the Monday Night Raw Ring report. The Monday Night Raw Ring report this week. Raw kicked off with a bang as Seth Rollins opens the show. Talks about how the WWE Universe is blamed for what he did to Rey Mysterio. And you know, recall Seth Rollins had that eye for an eye match with Rey this week on the Screen Rules. Rey lost the match and caused his eyes to gouge by Seth Rollins. Rollins puked, vomit. Aleister Black came out there to fight for the honor of Rey Mysterio. He did so unsuccessfully after Rollins pinned him. After the match, Rollins and Murphy set their sights on Aleister Black's arm and attacked it on the announce table. They just snatched up ligaments and stuff. It's like going. Also, R-Truth and MVP and Bobby Lashley was having a discussion. All of a sudden, MVP and Bobby Lashley made it clear that they don't want no part, nothing to do with R-Truth. R-Truth turned around, got attacked by Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin became the new 24/7 champion. R-Truth just, man, where R-Truth gonna learn? They don't want to fight with you, man. R-Truth saying, screw y'all. There you go. Speaking of that, that same team was in a 6-man tag team match as they went against the team of Ricochet and Cedric Alexander. But they was missing somebody. They was tired of getting beat up all the time. So they brought back the returning Mustafa Ali. Ali returns to action within since February. And Ali was on SmackDown. That didn't work out. So Ali on Raw. Ali getting his shine. And the High Flyers defeated the Hurt Business, or they call themselves Benjamin, MVP, and Lashley. It's like, if you can recall way back when, like at least 14, 13 years ago, that Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin were all in WWE, and 13 years later they're still back. So just trying to help the young guys out here. Also, Ruby Riott was in action this week with Bianca Belair in her corner against Peyton Royce, the Iconics. And Ruby Riott won due to the fact that she doesn't have Liv Morgan on her side no more. So look for Liv to return back in some form or fashion down the road with Bianca Belair as the temporary placeholder. So I got something for them to do. Also, the Street Profits defeated Andrade and Angel Garza by pinfall. So Andrade and Angel Garza looking for an itch to win the World Tag Team titles down the road. We'll see on that form fashion. Also, Kairi Sane defeated Bayley by pinfall with the help of Asuka. But at the end, Stephanie McMahon made it clear that Sasha Banks and Asuka need to stop this feud, and Bayley was involved in that match at Extreme Rules. But Bayley helped cost Asuka the Women's Championship. Asuka now fights Sasha Banks next week on Raw, and we'll see who the rightful Women's Champion going forward. Also, WWE Champion Drew McIntyre came out for a promo. Dolph Ziggler interrupted and thought he was entitled to another rematch. The championship match. Ziggler wanted the champion, Drew McIntyre, to pick the stipulation, which Drew revealed just before the bell ring. So we don't know how this gonna go. It's like a game of usmanship between McIntyre and Ziggler down the road between them two. So we'll see. Drew decides this week what stipulation is going to be. I think they're going to have a championship match this week. I don't know. We'll see. Also, Randy Orton beats the Big Show in an unsanctioned match and then punted the Big Show's head. Randy Orton reestablished himself as the Legend Killer after what he did to Big Show, Edge, Christian, and you name the list goes on. So Randy Orton sending a message loud and clear that he is reestablished himself as the Legend Killer. All right. That ends the Raw Ring Report this week. Let's move over to the SmackDown Ring Report. The SmackDown Ring Report this week. The show started out with Bayley and Sasha Banks, the Women's Tag Team Champions, cutting a promo. All of a sudden, Nick Cross and Alexa Bliss came out there and said that Nick Cross, eccentric, wild, feisty self, said she wants another shot at the Women's Championship herself. But Bayley turned the tables on Cross and said, hey, if you want a shot at my goal, you need to go fight your friend for a shot. And Nikki Cross did without hesitation, pushed Alexa down and told Alexa to come down here and fight her one-on-one so she could be number one contestant for the women's title. They had a good match back and forth throughout the show. And at the end, Nikki Cross won over Alexa Bliss and will face her for the women's championship next week on SmackDown. So, you know, like they said, rinse and repeat. Speaking of that, The Fiend came out there, right? He had his segment with 5-5 Funhouse. And he was being Mr. Rogers, jovial and happy and all that. And he told the Either Worlds with the lantern and stuff, like, you had your shot and you failed. So it's The Fiend's turn to fight Braun Strowman. So we saw that thing at Extreme Rules where it was somewhat of a swamp fight. It was weird. Alexa Bliss made a cameo of Sister Abigail, and I don't know, it's kind of getting weirder and weirder. And Bray Wyatt sent The Fiend, so The Fiend will fight Strowman sometime in the near future, probably at Summerslam. We'll talk about that. What's going on with Summerslam? Reports. Also, Matt Riddle beat Tony Nese a quick second with the Bo Derek. Riddle's finishing maneuver, like a hangman style slam, something like that. Power slam. And then King Corbin came out there and issued a King's Ransom. Then you might know, what is a King's Ransom? King's Ransom is like a sort of like a bounty, like putting on Riddle's head. So if anybody wants to attack Riddle, they'll be collect the bounty. So I don't know what they're going to do with that storyline going forward. Also, Naomi appeared on Miz TV to address these concerns that the WWE Universe had for her, as she deserved better. And she lost her battle against Lacey Evans. Naomi explained to Miz and Morris that Miz and Morris trying to agitate her and saying that Lacey Evans was a better woman. Lacey Evans came out there after Miz and Morris and welcomed her as an unannounced guest. And Naomi didn't take that. Naomi took it to Lacey Evans and also brawled. They brawled. Naomi made sure Lacey Evans had something. I thought it was something bleeding, but it was a smudge. And Lacey Evans didn't like that. See, that's the Lacey Evans I want right back. That Lacey Evans. That good Lacey Evans, it's all good and dandy, but that mean, nasty lady, Lacey Evans, who don't care, I want her back, and I'm glad she's back. She had that fight with Becky Lynch last year, and that was amazing. Also, Kofi Kingston said he will be out of action for a few weeks or so after doing that fixing the table match, lost the tag team title. Kofi told Big E, "Now it's your turn. You've been so selfish so long. Well, it's your turn to have a singles run." So Big E gonna have a singles run. I'm gonna believe Big E might go against AJ Styles. As Braun preoccupied with Bray. Speaking of the Intercontinental Championship, it was a fatal four-way between Grand Metalik, Lindsay Dorado, Drew Gulak, and Shorty G to earn a shot at AJ Styles' title. AJ was in commentary. It was matched back and forth, high spots after high spots. I thought Shorty G was gonna win. I know Drew had his shot. Drew didn't, you know what I'm saying? Drew didn't get the job done. But Grand Metalik earns himself a shot at the Intercontinental title. Expect AJ Styles to win that match. And speaking of AJ, we'll talk about what's going on with him, about these conspiracy theories with him about the earth being flat. Come on. Also, speaking of that, was a vignette for Otis and Mandy, a love story. Like Macho Man and Elizabeth. Love is in the air. Could marriage be in the loom in the way? And I think that's what they're heading towards, to an engagement between Otis and Mandy. And then the wedding, and then the wedding will be messed up from there. Also, Jeff Hardy took on Sheamus in a bar fight. Sheamus in his bar fight attire, come dressed as you are. Jeff Hardy came dressed as Jeff Hardy. And the bartender that attacked Jeff Hardy, when Jeff Hardy attacked, was there also. So you know the bartender will get his receipt on Jeff Hardy down the road. Sheamus ran and ripped Jeff Hardy about his prior alcohol abuse. He's a failure. He won't amount to nothing. Jeff Hardy took it in stride and said, "You know what, Sheamus? I done all that. I made mistakes. But I want to own up to them and, do right and try to make myself a better person." And next thing you know, Jeff Hardy's, put the drink on Sheamus, and the fight ensued. And the fight ensued indeed. Jeff Hardy and Sheamus battling each other out with spots on the table, on the bar, drinks left and right. Sheamus getting his pot shot. Next thing you know, Jeff Hardy was gonna go up, set up the ladder, and go up and do the sunshine until that damn bartender came out there and attacked Jeff Hardy, because the bartender didn't forget what Jeff Hardy did to him. And the bartender made it clear that he wanted Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy made it clear he was going to attack the bartender by any means to get to Sheamus. Jeff Hardy attacked the bartender, powerbombed the bartender through the table, and went up to the ladder and did the swanton bomb on Sheamus and pinned Sheamus 1, 2, 3 and left the bar as a winner. Now, all right, that ends the SmackDown Ring Report. When we return, we'll have hot topics as we get into the whole lengthy of hot topics I just mentioned you about, plus the AEW Ring Report and the NXT Ring Report, Wednesday Night Ring Report. Who won in the ratings? I'll let you know who did. All this and more. Pro Wrestling Show continues after this. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Show. I'm your host, as always, Kenny Dixie. Glad you can join us at the Pro Wrestling Show. Join in the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling here on Connect. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe is king. Tell a friend, call a friend, subscribe. Subscribing is not hard. It's not hard at all. So let's get to what's going on in Hot Topic Land this week. On Hot Topic Land, we talked about AJ Styles still getting his conspiracy theories, as Randy Orton saying that AJ still believes that the earth is still flat. My answer to that is, AJ, come on now. The earth is not flat. And I don't know who told you that. You know, you're a phenomenal wrestler. It's just, come on, man. The earth is not flat. If we was flat, we'd be like this. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Speaking of that, next boy Ric Flair announced that his wife, Wendy, who was Fifi, the maid in WCW, had tested positive for COVID. Well, Flair announced that he had stayed his distance from his wife to be quarantined. Nature Boy wasn't too busy himself when he went to a Starbucks and someone called it that Ric Flair was out on Starbucks and drive-thru getting some Starbucks coffee. Oh my God, Nature Boy Ric Flair. As long as he had a mask on, that's all that matters. But as long as he stayed his distance from his wife. But they saying, you know, the effects of the COVID. So everyone who has COVID and tests positive, we with you. Just, you know, come on back, come get recovered, and we can fight this disease by any means necessary. Stuff we can fight. Speaking of that, Angel Garza gets married. The WWE Raw superstar announced on his Instagram he got married. Congratulations to the happy couple. Well, he don't need to be flirting with Charlie. I don't know why they doing that. I think Charlie gonna have to cut that loose. You know, yeah, Angel might don't give a damn because Angel like shit. I can have my cake and eat it too. Oh Lord have mercy. Speaking of ratings, we heard about the Miz Cannonball had a strong number in the first week, and now the second week she started dipping. So I don't know if it's on the terms of what's going on with that. We'll see. Speaking of that, released WWE superstars who were part of the WWE, the COVID-19 thing when WWE had to use it. They all was an Impact, and they did sent their photo off with Tommy Dreamer with the bird. So I'm assuming they did that to spite WWE and told WWE to flip themselves and stuff. So you know how that goes. You flip yourself, flip what you got going on, and all this stuff going on as well. And I'm just telling you right now. Also, MLW is considering to run shows in December. So MLW is a small promotion, normally on YouTube and all other places, considering to run small shows again. So we'll see. This is sort of like what WWE's doing, slow with social distancing. So everyone's testing it out with baseball coming back, the NBA coming back this week. They want to see how this all, come about in the coming weeks. Speaking of that, with Summerslam, the WWE announced that Summerslam has been canceled in Boston. So no of those 3-day events will not be held in SummerSlam. And WWE said they will likely make an announcement soon on what the new location for SummerSlam would be. There were reports that SummerSlam will be in a southern state. They were saying look for Georgia, probably Atlanta, probably somewhere in Florida. So I'm likely thinking it's going to be in Orlando, but you never know. SummerSlam could head to Atlanta. I'm telling you, Speaking of that, Eric Young, former WWE talent, who's now in Impact, and was part of that picture. All the superstar flipping the bird, him, EC3, the Gallows, Anderson, many others. Eric Young saying WWE's broken. And they don't have no direction. Well, it's been like that for so many years that they got to have some direction. They still in business forever. It's just they just push who they want to push and who they think will sell. It's just unfortunate. I hear Young saying. Also, Jordan Ryan comes out and appears on YouTube to address the situation about the sexual misconduct. Jordan Ryan puts it out there that some of the females are telling their stories, and he's telling his story to prove that he's not innocent. So Jordan Ryan coming out trying to You can see it online for yourself and see what's going on with Drew Bryant. Also, Michael Elgins, another former Impact star, got released. And he's speaking out about the same situation with the Speak Out movement. And he addresses some of the criticism. So I think that YouTube channels is being that platform that they want to say what they need to say to get the message out and stuff. So, that's what it is. Speaking of that, another former released talent, Mike and Maria Kanellis, well, Mike Bennett, you say Maria, appeared on the Ring of Honor podcast, and they had mentioned that WWE didn't do them right, and they was trying to figure out what's going on, why they're not getting pushed enough. Same story with Mike, everybody who got recently released. Good talent, but no one's not pushing them. So, WWE's the only game in town for right now in AEW, but AEW is already fully loaded with stars. They don't need no more stars. They need people who's gonna. But see, I could see Mike and Maria come to AEW for like appearance with Cody and Brandy, because they got history there with Impact, so I can see that. I can see them back in Ring of Honor. You never know. Also, Adam Cole, former NXT champion, a Ring of Honor alum, had snapped on Pat McCartney. Didn't you know Pat McCartney from NXT? He was a former punter with the Indianapolis Colts. He got his own little daily talk show on YouTube. Well, McCartney said the wrong stuff about Adam Cole about his size. Take a look. It's all right there, McCartney. Ruffled Adam Cole. Some feathers. Adam Cole didn't like that. Adam Cole took it out on him. So Pat McCartney gonna have to be careful what you say about Adam Cole down the road. I'm telling you right now. And also, Anderson Gallows talks about on their Talking Shop podcast that Paul Heyman was the one that led to the release, saying that they had nothing for him, and Paul Heyman was that. But at the end of the day, Miss McMahon made some decisions, not Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman just can suggest and recommend. At the end, Miss McMahon can make that decision to keep us second. So I don't know what's going on with that. And also, Book T made headlines about Naomi. Don't believe what the bookman said with this. And so that Book T making a whole bunch of statements about Naomi. Naomi said she'll do better, and people came on Book T saying, "Why are you acting like that?" I know some of the black people did. And Book T like, "You just a corporate puppet." So Book T getting a lot of heat for what he's saying on his own heated conversations. Shit. All right. That is the wrestling hot topic. Let's get back to the NXT Ring Report. NXT this week, man. Oh, man. This is so funny. Okay. NXT this week kicked off with Keith Lee. Well, William Regal had a historic announcement to make. William Regal led it to Keith Lee. Keith Lee said that he had both of his prized possessions, the NXT Championship and the NXT North American Championship. He decided to keep the NXT Championship and vacate the NXT North American Champion because he believes there's opportunity for the NXT to be the next NXT North American Champion, which I commend for Keith Lee doing that. I can commend him doing that. So Keith Lee decides, William Regal declared that there will be a series of triple threat matches leading towards NXT TakeOver. And the first one was Bronson Reed versus John Garrow and Roger Strong. Matches back and forth, but at the end, Bronson Reed pulls up the upset. You thought either Garrow or Strong was going to be the heavy favorite to be the North American Championship since they're both former North American champions. Bronson Reed qualifies. Also, Dexter Lumis went against Killian Dane. Killian Dane came short from Dexter Lumis. Dexter Lumis applied that little sleeper/pressure. I don't know what it was, but he did by submission. Also, Breezango mocking the Mountie and stuff went against some tag team and defeated him. Also, Shotzi Blackheart, NXT Rising Star, went against Aaliyah by pinfall. Shotzi did the same thing, went over Robert Stone's other foot with her tank, Mercedes Martinez came out there and blindsided her and laid her out, and then left all confused to Ali and Stone. Martinez later clarified that she wanted to join the Robert Stone brand as long as Robert Stone take care of the contracts and stuff, while she focused on her people in the ring. So that's a good business thing. Robert Stone went from trying to recruit Rhea Ripley to now getting Mercedes Martinez. So that's a good steal for him. Also, Timothy Thatcher went against Orton and Orton by pinfall between these battle of these two rigged, rough fighters. Timothy Thatcher won, so look for this feud not to be over with by a long shot. Also, Karrion Kross, you might know Killer Kross, our Kevin Kross, went against Dominic Dijakovic one-on-one. Killer Kross and Karrion Kross, two battling the big men. Like Keith Lee came out there looking concerned for his so-called friendly friend now. Enemy turned friend in Dominic Dijakovic. And Karrion Kross kept pounding on him with the elbow strikes. Kross kept pounding, and next thing you know, Dijakovic was asked by the referee and asked by Keith Lee, "Do you want to stop?" And he said he's going to stop whenever he feels like it to, he wants to keep being the man. He kept pounding on him. And next thing you know, Killer Kross won by submission in that sleeper hold. So I believe that Killer Kross, I don't care, Killer Kross, Karrion Kross, I think that Killer Kross will go against Keith Lee for the NXT Championship down the road and take over for the historic card in August. So look for that to happen down the road. Killer Kross will rise and star. I've been told y'all that Killer Kross is going to be a star. He's a star to make it. I just hope that they just don't screw this up. I'm telling you. And when Triple H, you got something in Killer Kross. He's been in FSW. He's been in all these Impact. Impact didn't do right with him. WWE's doing right. What? I'm praying that when he gets to the main roster, they just don't, you know what I'm saying? Jericho, I hope he might not be like trying to say Scarlett gonna be the end of the match. I don't think so. All right. That ends the NXT Ring Report. Let's move over to the AEW Ring Report. AEW kicked off with Cody defending the TNT title against an unknown opponent. And the unknown opponent came to be Eddie Kingston. You might remember Eddie Kingston from the NWA and Impact. His loud talk, his loud mouth, saying stuff that out of nowhere. And he even went direct at Arn Anderson, took blows at Arn. And he told him, I think it was an audition. He made hell of a first impression. Him there with being called up with thumbtacks, powerbombing him with it, and Cody taking the pain. And he came hard and strong. And Cody tried to recap with the figure four, making him tap out. So Cody did what he had to do on that. And Cody, that had to be the toughest match for Cody. I'm telling you. Real tough. Also, John Moxley came out there and said he marveled with his victory over Brian Cage on the world title match. He said that he don't blame Taz because he would have snapped the motherfucker, snapped his arm out. He had to do more rehab, 6 months. And Moxley said next time won't be next time. Also, MJF with Warlord at ringside against Griff Garrison. You might know Griff Garrison. MJF saying that Griff Garrison was like a carbon copy of Jungle Boy. Tried to ridicule mock Garrison as Jungle Boy. Griff Garrison showed him, surprised him. Next thing you know, MJF attacked Griff Garrison, and Griff Garrison didn't really have a fight. Well, you would think Griff Garrison's taller than Jungle Boy, and you think he would put a fight, and he's a bit bigger than Jungle Boy. He's a little bit big, massive. He lost to MJF of all people. MJF won. He says he's number one. He touched Griff Garrison at the end. So, there you go. Also, Taz came out there. Well, Dr. Big Breaker came turns around in the interview about Dr. Big Breaker. Dr. Big Breaker vows to give revenge. He vows to return all out 100%. So we'll see. Also, Taz and Brian Cage came out in the interview. Taz said that he came close with him and Brian Cage not forming a partnership no more. They had a heated discussion. They came to a happy medium. And he said next time it's going to be next. So I guess Darby Allin came out there to vow revenge, extract revenge. Darby didn't take it to blow. Next thing you know, Ricky Smart came out there and attacked Darby as equalizer to Darby. The world champion John Moxley came out there with a baseball bat wrapped around and sent the message. So I think Moxley, Cage, Allen, and Starks, they're going to have a tag team match in the future. And we learned that there will be a tag team match between the two. Starks and Cage teamed up against Moxley and Darby Allin. Make it a fatal four-way for the world championship or whatever. Or they might just do Cage versus Mox for the world title in some form of gimmick match. Also, AEW announced a 16-woman, 18 women's tag team tournament called Deadly Draw. So the women are going to get spotlighted. I guess they're going to have women's tag team titles. I don't know, soon, or a cup or something. So look for that to go down. I expect Allie and what's her name and Brandon. You can expect that. Look to see it. Also, Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle talked about how his orange suit got messed up. Jericho paid $7,000 for an orange suit. Wow. Also, the Young Bucks went against the Butcher and the Blade and met the Butcher and the Blade in the kitchen. And they battled in the kitchen when the Butcher Blade had to wash their hands. It's a social distance and the coronavirus. And they took it, they went downtown, I'm telling you. And next thing you know, they went fought in the kitchen to the parking lot, to the Escalade, they just fought. But then the Young Bucks won by both of them climbing up, setting up tables on the Butcher and the Blade, and went down, won the match. So, I'll tell you how they go. Also, Lance Archer, frustrated. And Jake the Snake Roberts, the manager, telling him Lance Archer want to fight so bad, he's going to fight until somebody step up. So look for whoever will step up against Archer down the road. Also, Ellis versus DeMonte. The men you may know Ellis and DeMonte from Lucha Underground, DeMonte from Impact. So these two women trying to, spark some energy into the women's division. So hopefully it'll work. It's like an audition. DeMonte won by pinfall over Ellis, so we'll see how that goes. Might be in the women's tag team tournament together as strange bedfellows. Also, Hangman Page, one half of the world tag team champions of AEW, went against 5. Hangman won the match so easily and stuff. After the match, Bro Lee even asked him to join the Dark Order. Hangman said he refused not to. He said, okay. Hangman Brody walked away with Colt. Dark Order was sent to Destructions to destroy him. And they couldn't destroy Hangman. Hangman had some help, with some unlikely help from the FTR. Ken Omega came out later. So it's kind of sort of like, we'll see. But we know next week that the World Tag Team titles on line as Evil Uno and Grayson will wrestle for the World Tag Team titles against Hangman Page and Allen and Ken Omega. Let's see. And that Hero Shoes versus DeMonte next week. And Cody to defend the AEW TNT title this week. So, for a versus show. And the main event was Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy Jurassic Express against Wallet Champion Chris Jericho and Jake Hager one-on-one. And it was a match. It was a match. Both men fought at the end. Jericho delivered the code breaker on Luchasaurus and got the 1, 2, 3. And next thing you know, that masked luchador that was out there all night came out there and delivered a shooting star press on Luchasaurus, and it turns out to be Sammy Guevara. The returning Sammy Guevara came out there to help aid and reunited with his inner circle brethren. Well, we found out from Tony Schiavone do Tony Khan that next week is going to be a huge 10-man tag team match where the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy team up with Jurassic Express of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus against the inner circle of Jericho, Heyman, Jericho, Jake Hager, Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz. Huge 10-man tag next week. All right, that ends the AEW report. That ends the Pro Wrestling Show for this week. I've been your host, Get Your Dick, saying so long. We'll see you next week for another edition of the Pro Wrestling Show. See you later.